Welcome back to West Texas View.
Welcome back to the West Texas View. Just before the break, Dr. Jane was discussing some of the reasons that people graduate from cigarettes or something else into harder core addictions. And he said it didn't have anything to do with how smart they were, because there was just a fine line between genius and madness anyway. But the mental health issue is some of the things that were explored in depth in these articles, and that was something that I was really interested in. Now, another issue that we had a lot of comment about was autism. And I didn't know if you had anything new. We had discussed it, and it had created a lot of interest when we were when we talked about it before. But one of the mothers said that since she had a child with autism, that it didn't seem like she was hearing anything new, you know, and she was trying to follow. And she said it just seems like they're repeating the same studies. Is there a lot new in autism?
We are making progress, but she may be right that progress usually happens in a very, very small way. We are understanding autism from a different angle. What I mean to say is that what constitutes autism in terms of what kind of neurological problem, what kind of brain setup these folks have. What I mean by that is what kind of different connections in the brains they have that translates into how they relate to things, how they see things. So we are developing better understanding through imaging studies. We are trying to develop through a lot of experimental studies. But I can relate to the fact that we have not been able to make a complete a new clinical breakthrough to address autism. Some of the facts remain the same, that autism is not curable. You can't give a medication to cure it. However, autistic kids, depending on their functioning levels, can be brought, depending on, again, on the functional level, can be taught to function to the best of their abilities through various ways. Medications can help with certain functions. For example, this is not a new study, but this has been known for some time, that use of antidepressants like SSRIs, a group of antidepressants, can help autistic children become more malleable. When I say malleable, means less rigid in their daily functioning, are able to relate and develop better social skills. But again, medication doesn't by itself accomplish the task. It requires a lot of what we call social skills training. So most of these illnesses are major breakthroughs happen very slowly. I don't think we have done, but there have been a number of studies that have shown progress in terms of understanding how these folks are different from the regular ones.
But you know, the thing that always strikes me is that, and it's something that you said on one of the earlier programs, that when you have a person with mental illness, you are not just treating the patient, you're trying to treat or educate the whole family. And particularly something like autism that a lot of people don't know anything about. How do you do that? How do you treat or educate the whole family?
Well, that's a major challenge, and unfortunately it is becoming more and more difficult for most psychiatrists in the community to do that, mainly because the time allotted that the insurance will pay for the time is so limited, and anything beyond that the psychiatrist has to do on his own time, and that time may be as short as 10-15 minutes. What I would recommend, in order to make the most of the time they get face-to-face with their psychiatrist, is to do their own research. Get access to, go on the internet, look for other areas, go to respective governmental, educational or university website, not to the blogs, not to someone's private opinions, but respective. There's a lot of education material. Educate yourself first and get to know what are you dealing with now, and then write down what you are struggling with, what you have failing to understand. I don't expect my parents to know everything, but it really helps me use my time more effectively if they have some basic background information, and then they come up with questions and regarding specific issues regarding autism. But usually, with autism, it's always a struggle. I see parents across all spectrum. I see parents to whom I tell them the first time that this is autistic child, and it's difficult for them to accept that, to the point. And the other end of the spectrum, I see very sophisticated parents who have specific questions, and they have been dealing with autism for some years, and they just want to know some fine-tuning, how to modify the behavior, how to adjust something or the other. So it goes all a long way. What I would recommend, again, there are a number of national societies out there. If your child is diagnosed with autism, you might want to contact a National Autism Society. The number of them, if you Google with autism support groups, there is a support group, as far as I know, in the Midland area. I'm not sure about the Odessa. Such support groups are very good for information and also getting, because a lot of support groups, you get parents who have been more experienced, they share information, they share medical knowledge, they share the expertise in how they handle the behavior concerns, and they also invite a lot of speakers that you can get more face-to-face value about it.
And they also share how the dynamics within the family. Because one of the women who called me about your touching on autism before said, the thing I struggle most with is the siblings of the child that's autistic, and how this affects them, and how it takes away from...
Exactly. Yeah, that is a major concern, and that's why I usually recommend the whole family should be in counseling, because the child who is autistic will need a whole lot of more attention and more resources that probably will be to some extent taken away from the so-called normal other siblings.
Which almost is true at any mental illness, or even diabetes or something.
Anything, any other one. But that should not. So the parents should realize it. But a lot of times parents don't realize what they're doing, and that relates to some complications in the other children acting up and things like that. But if you educate how to balance this, which is doable.
And just recognize it. That's the important thing, is just to be aware. We're at the end of this program today, so we'll see you next Sunday with another program. It's been a pleasure to have Dr. Jane, and he's coming back one more Sunday with us.
Thanks for joining us for News West 9's West Texas View with Johnny Lou Avery. This has been a public affairs presentation of KWAB-TV and KWES-TV.